हमारे आज के वेबिनार का विषय इंडिया सिक्योरिटी चैलेंजेस इन साउथ एशिया अंतर्राष्ट्रीय राजनीति का एक बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण व रोचक विषय है। भारत दक्षिण एशिया में एक महत्वपूर्ण राजनीतिक स्थिति रखता है। भारतीय भूभाग का पूर्व और पश्चिम एशिया के बीच एक केंद्रीय स्थान है। भारत की भौगोलिक स्थिति पश्चिमी तट से पश्चिमी एशिया और पूर्वी तट से पूर्वी एशिया के साथ निकट संपर्क स्थापित करने में मदद करती है। भारत की यही महत्वपूर्ण स्थिति भारत के विशेषाधिकार में वृद्धि भी करती है व उसके समक्ष बहुत सी चुनौतियां भी प्रस्तुत करती है। और आज हमारे बीच विषय विशेषज्ञ मौजूद हैं। अतः हम उन्हीं से जानेंगे कि दक्षिण एशिया में भारत की सुरक्षा को लेकर हमारे देश के समक्ष आज कौन कौन सी चुनौतियां हैं। अब अश्विनी सर को जो है इनवाइट करती हूँ कि वो संजय सर का स्वागत करें।
Thank you, Sandhya Madam. It is really a matter of honor and pride to welcome such an eminent personality and very dear and near professor to me. So I, on the behalf of Political Science Department, Prerna Association, I welcome you, sir, for this inaugural lecture on international series, webinar series, which has been organized by our department, our college, and Political Science Department, and moreover, the Prerna Association, which is associated with our department. So I really happy and overjoyed to listen to Professor Sanjay Bhardwaj. हम इनको प्यार से संजय सर बोलते रहे हैं और मुझे याद है जब मैंने एमफिल में एडमिशन लिया था JNU में, तो सर ने भी डिपार्टमेंट को ज्वाइन किया था, डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ साउथ एशिया सर ने ज्वाइन किया था और तभी से सर के साथ हमारे बहुत अच्छे संबंध रहे हैं और सर ने बहुत मदद की है जीवन में हर स्तर पे। तो मैं उसके लिए सर का वैसे ही बहुत आई एम इंडेटेड टू सर। अच्छा, एक नया इनोवेशन कल हमारे माइंड में भी आया कि क्योंकि सब कुछ ऑनलाइन चल रहा है, एवरीथिंग इज गोइंग ऑनलाइन, डिजिटल युग है, डिजिटल इंडिया है, हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब भी बोल चुके हैं डिजिटल इंडिया है। तो हमने एक ये डिसाइड किया कि अब हम जो टोकन ऑफ लव जो है वो दैट वुड ऑल्सो बी डिजिटल। तो हमने सर के लिए एक डिजिटल बुके जो है वो इनोवेट किया है और उसको स्क्रीन पे शेयर किया जाए और सर को वो डिजिटल बुके जो है वो हम सर के व्हाट्सएप के थ्रू सर को भेज रहे हैं एंड आई होप सर को ये अच्छा भी लगेगा। और ये कॉलेज की तरफ से हमारे प्रेरणा एसोसिएशन और डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ पॉलिटिकल साइंस की तरफ से एक डिजिटल मेमोरी जो है वो संजय सर आप अपने पास इसको
थैंक यू डॉक्टर अश्वनी फॉर दिस, थैंक यू।
तो अब मैं सर को इनवाइट करता हूं कि वो अपना प्रेजेंटेशन स्टार्ट करें और हम सब उससे लाभान्वित हों। आई होप यू एवरीबॉडी विल लाइक द लेक्चर्स। अच्छा, और दूसरा ये है कि जिसको भी क्वेश्चन पूछना बच्चों को Q&A सेक्शन में आप अपना क्वेश्चन डालेंगे और फैकल्टी मेंबर्स जो हैं दे कैन अनम्यूट देमसेल्व्स एंड आस्क द क्वेश्चंस आफ्टर द टॉक। तो उसके तरीके से फिर हम आगे चलेंगे। All the students, I request all the students to send their questions in Q&A section, right? तो
sure,
इस तरीके से हम आगे बढ़ेंगे और संजय सर आप प्लीज शुरू करें।
सर बिफोर दैट yes,
हाँ बोलिए सर।
Thank you so much, Ashwani sir. A very warm welcome to all. It's a wonderful day, and I, Shaurya Jaiswal, on the behalf of Prerna, Department of Political Science, feel privileged to extend my warm welcome to all present here. We all have gathered here today because our society, Prerna, in collaboration with Skill Development Cell of Shyamlal College Evening, is organizing a series of webinars on international relations. International relations, it plays an important role in the era of globalization. It is very important for us to know the importance of India on international platform. So in this series of webinars, we are going to start our first webinar today on the topic, as mentioned by Ashwani sir and Sandhya ma'am, India's security challenges in South Asia. It's our honor to have Professor Sanjay Bhardwaj sir from Jawaharlal Nehru University as the speaker for today. His area of specialization includes India's foreign policy, political security, socio-economic, and foreign policy issues of South Asian countries. He is recipient of SRT Fellow Awards 2009-10, Asia Fellow Awards 2010-11. He has also been ICSSR Fellow 2013 and SUSI Fellow 2018 on National Security Policy Making at University of Delaware, USA. Currently, he has completed 3 research projects on the following subjects: India's energy security, international cooperation to energy security society, India's neighborhood policy, small and big neighbors in South Asia, identity politics in Bangladesh, implications for India. Sir has even authored 3 books and over 3 dozen articles. He has successfully supervised more than 25 PhD scholars on South Asia. There's a lot more to talk about, sir, and even much more to learn from sir. So, before turning the time over to sir, there are few things that we should keep in mind. See, number one, to keep the quality of sound functional during sir's presentation, I would request everyone to please mute themselves. If you have any questions, any queries during the presentation, please drop them into the chat box along with your name and college's name. We have Unnati with us, so we'll conduct the question and answer session only at the end of sir's presentation. I'll repeat, only at the end of sir's presentation. So if you have any query, any question in between, then please don't unmute yourself. Just drop your question in the chat box. I hope it is clear to everyone.
प्रिंसिपल साहब, डॉक्टर रमेश कुमार जी, और मुझे लगा कि मेरी एक तरीके से घर में वापसी हुई, और जो स्नेह और जो सपोर्ट डॉक्टर रमेश कुमार जी, जो मेरे बड़े भाई हैं बेसिकली, तो इनका स्नेह रहा मुझे while I was teaching in your college, sir. It is about 20 years. It is 19 years back in 2002.
Yes.
2002. He was the principal sir was very affectionate. He had always given a love, elderly love, in a way that I was always feeling very confident while I was with him. And today I really realized, and I feel very honored that you have that affection, that you have that love for me till date also. So I thank you very much for your kind words, and it's giving me this platform, this opportunity. Of course, Prerna, I'm part of Political Science Department, Shamlal College, very much, and I'll be very happy in future as well. You may ask me anytime, I'm there.
Thank you.
And, no, it's my pleasure, sir. And particularly, I can now I've seen you at least on virtual mode for after many years.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I extend my thanks to Dr. Sandhya Verma also for giving this opportunity for this conference. Of course, that Dr. Ritesh Bharadwaj, and of course my student, my friend, Dr. Ashwani Jashal, who had been instrumental of inviting me, and with the support of my elder brother, my honorable colleague, Dr. Ramesh Kumar, the principal of this college, for this platform. I'm English, in fact. You know why I'll speak in English? The problem is that few international scholars are also, they have also joined from Afghanistan, from Europe, from Korea. They are also listening. If I will speak in Hindi purely, then it would be just injustice to them, because they are also listening this talk. But I'll be very easy, and keeping my students of Shamlal College into my mind, I'll be very I'll try to make some of the observations in Hindi as well. Let me share my slide, and then I'll come with you. Can you see what? Can you see any slide?
Yes, sir. Your screen is visible.
Only screen is visible, not the PowerPoint.
Now it is, sir.
PowerPoint is there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Okay, So if I'm disconnected, please call me and you can speak, or if there is, because I can't see you people, there's a problem with that. I'm going to share my thought on India in South Asian security. Number of things have been highlighted by Dr. Ashwani Jaiswal as well as Honorable Principal regarding the South Asian security, where the role of China, the role of neighboring countries, and the changing scenario in Asia and in international platforms had directly or indirectly impacted or affected the South Asian security. Very interestingly, you will see that with the rise of China, you can see that realignments are taking place in all the Asian countries. Realignment in a way, in West Asia, you can see how that West Asia's relations, or particularly Saudi Arabia and UAE, had a shift in the relationship, where India had become very close partner of them in recent past, and you can see their actions and their reactions on the issue of Kashmir. You can also see that how China had been aligned with Turkey, with Iran, with Pakistan, with Malaysia. Basically, that China is trying to develop an alternative discourse in Islamic world, China is in search for a Islamic leader, either in Turkey or in Iran or in Malaysia, or they had also one summit in Malaysia 2019. You can also see that the United States is trying to withdraw from Afghanistan, particularly on the issue of war on terror, and asking India, basically, particularly while you listen Trump, that he has asked India to act more in South Asia, particularly in Afghanistan, just not for the economic and from the rebuilding process, but also somehow it has been hinted to share the burden of defense spending as well. So basically, the international communities are eyeing and basically are looking that India can become a responsible actor and factor in Asian security, particularly in South Asian security, and asking them, India, to act more in the affairs of South Asia. If you will go and you will try to understand what is South Asia, I'm not going in detail, but you will see that the South Asia is a colonial concept. Colonial concepts that has been constructed in a way while the British colonial masters were ruling this subcontinent. What happened that, however, in literature everywhere, it was either written Jammu Deva or Bharatvarsha or Hindustan and Indian subcontinent. The Americans, they have started using the word South Asia in the post Second World War II, while they wanted to rule the world. And but you will see that the South Asia you can see that the nationalities, the communalities and ethnicities, that there is a complex interdependencies in the sense of language, in the sense of religion, in the sense of culture, in the sense of race and ethnicity and people. You can see the Bengal is there, but in this Bengal there is another country is there, that is Bangladesh. You can see that the Punjab, that the half of the Punjab, that the West Punjab is with now Pakistan, had been become part of Pakistan in 1947. And you enter this subcontinent, you know, the Sindh, Balochistan, Northwest frontiers has also become part of Pakistan with the partition of India in 1947. There are you can see that, but this is you can see that this is part of common ecological organism. How it is part of common ecological organism system? Because you do find that there are interdependencies, complex interdependencies on the issue of the resources. Particularly, you see the river. The Ganges River originates from some from Nepal, from India, and then it flow in the Indian states, and then enters in Bangladesh and fall in Bay of Bengal. You can also see that like Brahmaputra originates from Tibet Plateau or from China and enters in India and then enter in Bangladesh and fall in Bay of Bengal. Indus River also you can see how that is connecting two states, India and Pakistan. In it. So we are part of common ecological organic system. We share mountain, we share ocean, we share river, and we share resources as well. Of course, we are also part of common culture and tradition, and or you can say we have a civilizational affinities and ethnic commonalities. Or you can say that the South Asia is a process from civilizational spread to sovereign entity. That civilizational spread to sovereign entity led to the another phase, that is the colonialization to decolonization. And today we are from decolonization to democratizations and institutionalizations. But you will find very interestingly, while you see that this is a homogeneous region, and India has the centrality in this region. While India has the centrality in these regions, we being a compact geographical entity, we have common political, economic, and strategic interest. Common political, strategic, and economic interest you can see in the past. If anything had happened in Bangladesh, today's Bangladesh, or in East Pakistan in 1971, we had a spillover impact that migration and refugees were taking place. Around 10 million people had migrated from Bangladesh side to the Indian side, and had created a problem, a security threat to India. We can also see that how if the Chinese are coming in its periphery, it concerns India in a way that can be a potential threat in near future. I will come in detail about China while I'll make my presentations. So you see that if you considered South Asia is a region. There is anything to call South Asia as a region, or there is everything to find in a region that it has full characteristic of the regionness. But what is not there, and why the South Asia is the least integrated region in the world? Still, the intra-regional trade among South Asian countries are less than 5%. Why so? Because there is no desire to live in peace and harmony. There is problem. There is lack of desire to live in peace and harmony, and because of that, we are hardly integrated. Still, we do not have physical and people-to-people contact with Pakistan. We had problems. We had problems with Bangladesh. Now we are trying to smoothen the things with Nepal, with Sri Lanka, with all these countries. I'll come in detail. But what are the factors basically that if you will see? I'll decide because you need to understand. You need to understand South Asia. What is South Asia? If you will see if you will see, and you will find that what are the factors that distance South Asian neighbors from each other. As I said, it's the least integrated region in the world. I would simply say that there is systematic asymmetry in the real power of the regional states. That's a big factor. The systematic asymmetry in the real power of the regional states. You will see there is asymmetry in the size between the countries, Bangladesh, Pakistan, middle power in South Asia, Nepal, Bhutan, small state, Sri Lanka, and Maldives are also small states in South Asia. There are also asymmetry in economy, as well as there are asymmetry in military power. So being asymmetry, being smaller states in South Asia, that's give a sense of apologetic behavior. That they feel apologetic in a way that you are living in Indo-centric region, and in that Indo-centric region, India is a regional hegemon. India is a big brother. India is a regional power, and to deal with India, to tackle with India, we have to have different strategies, different tactics to to protect the national interest of the smaller neighbors of South Asia. And there they tried to adopt two kinds of strategy. One is that balance of power in the sense of economy, in the sense of military, or in the sense of the political power. And of course, there is also tendency of developing balance of threat. The balance of threat is also gives a apologetic behavior that we are developing. Like you see that the nuclear program of Pakistan. India had gone for the nuclear program because keeping China as a potential threat, and we had developed China was the factor in developing India's nuclear program. Whereas the Pakistan's nuclear factor, again, China was actor and factor, but they have made India as a factor of the nuclear program of Pakistan, because they feel that we have a constant threat from the India, being a regional power, being a military power in the region. So we need to deter India in this region. India has become the nuclear power, so we will also develop the nuclear program in Pakistan. And in this nuclear program, China has become actor and factor for Pakistan. All the way they have given technology, they had given, I'm not going much into detail, but my point is there that the asymmetry had given an apologetic, had developed an apologetic behavior among the smaller states of South Asia, or the neighboring states of South Asia, to counterbalance India or to balance the threats in the region. Second very important point is that, you know, that Pakistan and Bangladesh before 1947 was part of India or British India. They have been partisan. There are a number of factors that why it has been partisan of the British colonial masters policy, or it is because of the appeasement policies of Britishers, or you can say that the consciousness of religious consciousness or two-nation theory, or they wanted. But what happened that 1947 and 1971 partisan is still unfinished partisan. It is unfinished partisan in a way that the Radcliffe Award that had partisaned this region, drawn the lines of these countries, had become Radcliffe blunder in the post-partisan period. That still there are territorial disputes between India and Bangladesh had been. Now we had resolved in 2015 after almost 65 years of its independence. There are also territorial disputes between India and Pakistan, number of, including Kashmir, and this unfinished partisan has created a mistrust and differentiating threat perception. You had fought 4 wars between India and Pakistan from 1948 to 1965 to 1971 to 1999. This mistrust and differentiating threat perceptions had become factors of the military programs as well as the nuclear programs of all the South Asian countries. You will also see that to balance India, I would come that the balance of power strategy from the very beginning, you will see that has also brought the Cold War politics to this region, where Pakistan has signed Seato and Sento with the Western or with the Americans in 1954-55, and that has brought the Cold War politics into the region, or you can say that has brought the extra regional powers in the region. I would cover further in detail about these things. And what happened that because the ill-defined political geography, or because of mistrust, or because of differentiating threat perceptions, and because of the asymmetry in this region, the distance these has distanced the neighbors from each other. if there would have been a positive gestures to come closer or to integrate this region, the diverse political system. The diverse political system has created a policy advocism in the regions. What are the diverse political system? That Pakistan and had under the military regime. Bangladesh also been for the time been under the military regimes. In Nepal, Bhutan are in the monarchy, and there are change of regimes and guards in Sri Lanka as well, and ethnic conflicts that has created advocism in the policies that one set of government comes into power and that another set of government change the policy. So not going much into detail because I would touch about the other South Asian countries and what is happening. That the legacy of partisan, the legacy of 1947, the two-nation theory had further been instrumental in mobilizing or polarizing society along the religious line, and that had been at three layers. In fact, you can see all the South Asian. This is not the characteristic of Bangladesh. That all the South Asian countries, that at the macro level, you see the socio-political elites. The socio-political elites had been symbolizing religious ethos and religious ethos and views in the society, in the constitution, in the buildings, in the airports. That you can see that they change the names. They are basically symbolizing everything with the religious things, and also ruined the inclusiveness or the cultural ethos of this society. Where in case of Pakistan, Bangladesh, you will see that the petrodollar had also become instrumental in Islamizing the society or increasing fundamentalism in these countries. Now you see where we were in 1947, where we were in 1930s, or where we were in 1971. Now in 2021. That the religious politics, the polarizations are taking deeper roots in the society of all the South Asian countries, and that has been charities or financial institutions and NGOs that they had been trying to change the shape, very nature of the society. So at the macro level, you can see that the socio-political elites and petrodollar had been instrumental in the Islamizations or in the giving a religious flavor to major level. There are also decline of the scholarship in Islam or in other religions as well. That you will say that they failed to interpret the true version of Islam. They failed to interpret the true version of the religions had been in the subcontinent in the ancient period as well. They failed to reveal that inclusive and tolerant nature of this society of South Asia. And so at the major level, you can see there is decline of the scholarship in religion or in Islam. Third very important factor that was not there earlier, what the socio-political regimes, they were Islamizing, they were using religion as a tool to sustain in the power, as the Pakistan military is the good example to understand that how they have used Islam and Islamic ethos to rule the country. So in Bangladesh, military had symbolized and changed the constitution of Bangladesh from 1977 onward. It did not have much implications for the people. It did not have much implications to the masses. आम जनता पे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता था, सिर्फ ऊपरी तौर पे होता था कि स्कॉलरशिप की मस्जिद में कुछ जा रहा है, पढ़ाया जा रहा है, गलत पढ़ाया जा रहा है, या पॉलिटिकल एलिट्स क्या कर रहे हैं. It did not have much implications at the mass level. But what happened because of in this age of globalization, while there are more outflow of the people to different parts of the world, particularly that the migration of unskilled and semi-skilled workers to the Middle Eastern countries. While the people from the people had come in the contact with the Middle Eastern countries, they started authenticating their religious ethos with the Middle Eastern version of Islam. There is a Middle Eastern of Islam means that the Islam, the religion in the South Asia is basically moreover a syncretic Islam, or you can say has the impact of Hinduism, Sufism, Buddhism, and the indigenous values. So the Islam had been flourished in a way that it looks distinct from Islam is a Hanafi type of Islam, has much of inclusive ethos, values, impact of Sufism and all that. While these migrant, unskilled and semi-skilled migrant workers had started going to and had come into contact with the Middle Eastern countries, basically they had started branding themselves with the Makkah Medina types of or Arabian type of Islam. That is Wahhabi Islam, you can say, is known as Hanbali Islam. So the contestation within the Islam had increased between Hanafi and the Hanbali. And what happened that you can see in the neighboring countries, particularly in Bangladesh, or you can go to Pakistan, and that the many of the things had like burqa culture had become fashion, had become prominent among the women, and you can see how Bangladesh and how Pakistan had Islamized themselves in 1990s and 2001 after 9/11 as well. How Taliban had been celebrated in this subcontinent. How Mujahideen had been celebrated. How Hafiz Saeed and had been is a hero in Pakistan. My point is there that this rise of Islamic extremism or fundamentalism had become a fashion or in this subcontinent. I'm coming with these. I have given you a very good picture of South Asia. What is South Asia? What is happening in South Asia? What type of nature, geographical, political is there? What type of the religious environment is there?
3 o'clock.
Now I would come to it. What is the India's policy objective in the context of the security challenges? There are three clear-cut policy objectives that India has in South Asia. One, of course, is the security, that is internal and external security. Okay, if you will see what are the security threats to India, there are three internal security threats to India are there. One is terrorism, second is fundamentalism, and third is insurgent movement. And if you will see that while you want to counter terrorism, or you want to defy fundamentalism, or curb separatist and insurgent movements, what is the most important factor? The most important factor is the origin and support of these security threats are from the neighboring countries. जो सबसे बड़ा सोर्स है अगर सिक्योरिटी का, चाहे आप टेररिज्म बात करते हैं तो टेररिज्म जब हम बात करते हैं तो पाकिस्तान का ख्याल आता है, या हमको बांग्लादेश का ख्याल आता है. आज बांग्लादेश में वो नहीं है. बांग्लादेश में जब से रेजिम चेंज हुआ है, वहां पे सेकुलर और लिबरल प्रोग्रेसिव फोर्सेस ज्यादा डोमिनेट कर रही है. वहां पे टेररिस्ट और जो 2001 से 2006 के बीच में जो माहौल था अब नहीं है. लेकिन जब आप टेररिज्म की बात करते हैं तो ऑफ कोर्स यू डू फाइंड that the source of cross-border terrorism is Pakistan, and Pakistan had become a safe haven for the terrorist outfits. They had their camps in Indian bordering regions, and they are doing their activity. So my point is very simple, that the internal security of India is very much linked with the South Asian states. Either you take the issue of fundamentalism. If the fundamentalism, religious extremism is increasing in any part of the South Asia, including Pakistan or Bangladesh or in Sri Lanka, it has spillover impact, it has negative impact, it has impact on India. So what is that? And if there are insurgent movements in northeastern country, Ulfa, or in Manipur and Nagaland, or in in Jammu and Kashmir, separatist movements are there. They are having linkages with the neighboring countries. The ULFA had bases in Bangladesh. The ULFA or Manipuri insurgents groups are having bases in Myanmar and in Bhutan, as well as that Pakistan. You can see the separatist or insurgents groups were having bases in Pakistan. So you need to understand very clearly that in the policy thrust, what is the policy thrust? India's policy regarding the security and how to counter terrorism, how to defy fundamentalism from the neighboring countries, supported from the neighboring countries, and having negative or problems of peace and stability and security of the neighboring or bordering areas of India, or either to northeast or to Jammu and Kashmir and other parts. We have seen Mumbai attacks, we have seen Parliament attacks, we have seen Uri, Pulwama. There are a number of attacks that we have seen, and most of them, they are linked with the terrorists from Pakistan. We have also seen attacks in Lucknow and in Allahabad, in Mehrauli or in Jaipur or in Bangalore. They had the linkages in 2005. They had the linkages from the Bengali-speaking people who were involved. My point is simple, that to ensure India's internal security, the only threat is from the neighboring countries. And if you want to counter, you want to ensure a peaceful South Asia, you need to deal with the neighboring countries to counter terrorism, to defy fundamentalism, and to curb separatist movements in this region. India had been adopting two technologies, two approaches to minimize this hostility, to minimize this security threats that is supported and originated from the neighboring countries. First, as a soft power, India tried to resolve these issues as a soft power. And this soft power techniques, what was that? First was that confidence building measures. Are you listening me, please?
Yes, sir, we are listening to you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we are listening.
Sir. Yes. The first part is it okay in English, or shall I come with little Hindi?
संजय सर, ये रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि आप ना थोड़ा सा हिंदी में भी बोले, क्योंकि सारा इंग्लिश में हो रहा है. हमारे कुछ बच्चे जो है ना, उनका फिर प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा. वो बिल्कुल
Okay, I'll come little bit.
तो थोड़ा सा हिंदी में भी.
I'll come. Okay. So
okay. Thank you.
तो सॉफ्ट पावर, एक सॉफ्ट पावर इंडिया का जो स्ट्रेंथ है आज के दिन, सबसे बड़ा स्ट्रेंथ अगर इंडिया का है कि इंडिया इज नोन एज ए सॉफ्ट पावर. इंडिया नेवर बिहेव्ड एज हार्ड पावर. ऑफ कोर्स देयर आर आल्सो कि ये भी कहा जाता है कि नहीं, आप सॉफ्ट पावर के बजाय, हार्ड पावर के बजाय इंडिया को स्मार्ट पावर होना चाहिए. ये जोसेफ नाइक का कॉन्सेप्ट है, आप देख सकते हो. लेकिन एज सॉफ्ट पावर इंडिया ने कई टेक्निक्स अपनाने की कोशिश की, जिसमें आप कहेंगे कि फर्स्ट वाज द कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्डिंग मेजर्स, कि हम पड़ोसी देशों के साथ ज्यादा से ज्यादा कांटेक्ट रखेंगे, हम ज्यादा से ज्यादा उनके साथ डायलॉग रखेंगे, हम पॉलिटिकल एक्सचेंज रखेंगे, अमन की आस रखेंगे, बस डिप्लोमेसी रखेंगे. देयर आर नंबर ऑफ टैक्टिक्स दैट कि हम अपने पड़ोसी देशों के साथ संबंधों को सुधारने की कोशिश करेंगे, कि ढाका से कोलकाता बस सर्विस रखेंगे, या अमृतसर से लाहौर बस सर्विस रखेंगे, या आप वहां उनके प्रोग्राम्स में जाएंगे, या आप वहां की मूवीज को आप एंटरटेन करेंगे, इंडियन मूवीज को वहां पे फ्लोरिश होने देंगे. दैट काइंड ऑफ कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्डिंग, सो दैट वी कैन कम क्लोजर, वी कैन अंडरस्टैंड ईच अदर्स कल्चर. मीन्स देयर वुड बी मोर people to people contact, there would be more cultural and academic cooperation between the two peoples of India and Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, and other South Asian countries. India tried to many times, either you take from Atal Bihari Vajpayee's time, even Modi had also tried to have adopted a soft power, went to Pakistan, participated in the marriage ceremony, greeted Nawaz Sharif there. तो कोशिश किया कि पाकिस्तान के साथ में समय समय पे, चाहे मुशर्रफ का टाइम हो, चाहे मनमोहन सिंह का टाइम हो, चाहे अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी का टाइम हो, चाहे मोदी जी का टाइम हो, कि हमने कोशिश किया कि आपस में कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्डिंग हो और ज्यादा से ज्यादा पीपल टू पीपल कॉन्टेक्ट हो, जर्नलिस्ट कॉन्टेक्ट्स हो, एकेडमिक कॉन्टेक्ट्स हो, कल्चरल प्रोग्राम्स हो, आपने सुना होगा अमन की आस का जो मैंने जिक्र किया। तो ये इस तरीके की कोशिश की गई समय कई बार जब कोशिश की गई तब उसके रिजल्ट्स दूसरे आए कि जब पाकिस्तान के साथ में आपने पीस प्रोसेस शुरू किया तब आर्मी ने इंटरवीन करके भारत के साथ तो रिश्ते खत्म किए, साथ ही साथ वहां पर भी सत्ता का परिवर्तन कर दिया। नवाज शरीफ का आप केस देख लीजिए, 2 बार नवाज शरीफ को इसी मुद्दे पे हटाया गया था। बेनजीर भुट्टो को कभी का तख्ता पलट कर दिया गया। टाइम एंड अगेन दे वर ट्राइंग टू। दूसरा इसी पहलू में कि हम लो पॉलिटिक्स की भी बात करते हैं कि भाई हम चलिए आपके राजनीतिक विषय संबंध अच्छे नहीं है, पॉलिटिकल रिलेशंस अच्छे नहीं है, मिलिट्री कन्फ्रंटेशन होता है, लेकिन हम बिजनेस को आगे बढ़ाते हैं कि बिजनेस करते हैं, मार्केट इकोनॉमी को बढ़ाते हैं, इकोनॉमिक इंटीग्रेशंस करते हैं, इंटरडिपेंडेंस करते हैं। कोशिश किया गया, सार्क आया 1985 में, सार्क के बाद साफ्टा आया, फिर साफ्टा आया और फिर उसके बाद 2006 में साफ्टा आया और उसमें प्रेफरेंशियल ट्रीटमेंट्स होने लगा, फ्री कंसेशंस देने लगा, लीस्ट एलडीसी में शामिल किया गया। काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स हैड बीन अडॉप्टेड between the South Asian countries so that you can deal with these states so they will not generate a security threat to India's interest, India security. They will not create a threat to India's security. अगर ये भी नहीं हो रहा तो कम से कम जो स्टेटस को है, जो आज के दिन जो स्टेटस को है उसको ही बरकरार रखा जाए कि ठीक है, जो लाइन ऑफ एक्चुअल कंट्रोल है, आप लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल उसको आप रखिए और आप जितना आपका जो शिमला एग्रीमेंट है उसके साथ में आप जाइए, या किसी भी तरीके का यू ट्राई टू मेक की स्टेटस को रहे, तो एक दूसरे का आप अपने खुश रहिए, हम अपने खुश रहेंगे। सो यू बी with you and we will be with you and we will maintain the peace and stability on the border region. Number of times, but it could not work in many cases. However, it well worked in case of Bangladesh. It is working in other South Asian countries, but it could not work in case of Pakistan. And while it did not work with Pakistan, and Pakistan continued Pathankot and Uri and Pulwama, India acted and behaved like hard power. And there, in the hard power tactic, what India did, India had adopted a policy of deterrence by punishment. कि तुम वैसे नहीं मानोगे तो हम क्या करेंगे, हम सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक करेंगे. We will come and we will have Balakot. We will punish you into your territory. And that had been in case of insurgents groups of Northeast. We had gone to Myanmar and we had operation there. We had gone to Bhutan, we had operations there, and while Modi came into power, he had operations and we had surgical strikes on in Pakistan, occupied Kashmir and other parts, and we punished them in their territory. We finished their bases in their territory. So the first, we had behaved like hard power. The second strategy had been adopted as hard power is the denial strategy. What is the denial strategy? कि हम कोशिश करेंगे कि हम अपने पोर्ट्स को इतना मजबूत करें, हम अपने बेसिस और बॉर्डर सिक्योरिटी को इतना मजबूत करें, और हम अपनी जो टूल्स एंड टेक्निक्स हैं, बॉर्डर सिक्योरिटी टूल्स एंड टेक्निक्स हैं, इंटेलिजेंस सर्विसेज हैं, उसको मजबूत करें ताकि जो टेररिस्ट ग्रुप्स हैं वो आसानी से हमारे यहाँ अंदर आ ही ना पाए, एंटर ही नहीं कर पाए, वो हम अपने आप को इतना मजबूत करें. इस तरीके की ये डिनाइल स्ट्रेटेजी थी. काफी कुछ हद तक बांग्लादेश गवर्नमेंट ने हमको सपोर्ट किया. हमने करीब 300 किलोमीटर बॉर्डर को फेंस कर दिया गया, फेंसिंग हो गया. देयर आर रिवराइन बॉर्डर प्रॉब्लम्स हैं. पाकिस्तान की तरफ से हमने पूरा अपने बॉर्डर को सील किया हुआ है. हमने अपनी बॉर्डर सिक्योरिटी को मजबूत किया गया. BSF is constantly watching this border, and we have also improved our intelligence services so that the terrorists cannot enter in this territory and create the problem. So you be clear, what is the first threat to India's and objective of India's policy to ensure the internal security that is originating from the neighboring countries, particularly supported from the neighboring countries, either it's fundamentalism issues or terrorism issue or insurgent movements. The second is very important. Second threat comes from the extra regional powers. and that is the external security threat. And what are the extra-regional powers? That had been from the Cold War politics, where Chinese and the Americans were coming together. The Americans were coming to all the South Asian countries. They made Pakistan number of times as frontline state, and military aid and assistance had been given to Pakistan to fight against the Afghan Soviet Afghanistan. They trained the Talibanis, they trained the Mujahideens in that territory. Before that also they have SEATO and CENTO and had the military assistance program to Pakistan. They have these extra regional power coming. And what that Pakistan used to do, that Pakistan, instead of using those military assistance, supporting the insurgent groups of Jammu and Kashmir, and started promoting the terrorist activities and separatist movement in Indian state. That had been from the time and again. You can see that how the Mujahideen had been entering in this country, and they had tried to destabilize South Asia region. China had also been, as I said, that China during the Cold War period as well, we had conflict with China in 1962. After that, Pakistan has become most allied ally, or you can say that Pakistan had become all-weather friend, and how the Chinese had supported the Pakistanis in 1965, and moreover in 1971 they've given open support to Pakistan to fight against the Mukti Bahini of Bangladesh, or against the Indian military forces. The most important thing that they have also come with the nuclear program, that the China has become actor and factor in nuclear program of Pakistan, that has developed a deterrence within South Asia. You can say that China had made South Asia as a nuclear plus zone in the world. And that Pakistan, very smartly, what they had been doing, that for military and for political support, they were either looking Americans or they were looking Chinese. But for religious and ideological support, they had also been constantly supported by Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia was the major source of ideological and religious support. And the way Pakistan has developed the nuclear program, they said that this is Islamic bomb. This is to protect the entire Muslim world in this globe. So the Saudi Arabians or the Gulf countries, they had given aid and assistance. While India has become a nuclear power, and while India has also become an economic power, the Americans, they had made changes in their policy. They had been earlier closer to Pakistan, but after 1998, while Clinton was the president and Clinton came to South Asia, yet they have made a shift in their policy, and now they have developed the closer strategic closer political or proximity with India after 2000, or you can see that how we have signed a civil nuclear deal with America in 2005, how we have signed logistic agreements with America, and now America has become partner with India on many issues. Of course, there are convergence of interest. The one is that is balancing China in the region, or balancing China in Asia, where Americans and Indians had come together. There are, of course, the Americans and the Indians, they are fighting against war on terror. So there are also convergence of interest. Of course, there are eyeing on nuclear, civil nuclear programs, energy programs, trade investment, that both the countries had convergence of interest and come together and developed a strategic political partnership between the two countries. Now they are going for number of issues like Quad and all that that thing is going on. But the basic thrust of the area are that. However, the USA also increasing its presence through initiatives of peace building, promoting liberal, secular, democratic values, or also denouncing terrorism, extremism, and insurgency So basically, they have become developmental partner. They have become partner in South Asia, and Americans, particularly after 9/11, also Americans had been using Pakistan very carefully only for the purpose to fight in war on terror or to fight against the Taliban in Afghanistan. However, Pakistan is still there, is not drifted away what the policies had been in the past also, that using the aid and assistance against India. But Americans this time was more careful in this, particularly Trump's regime. You can see the Obama's regime, while Obama has come out with the Pak policy, they was very careful. The Chinese are very important now, particularly after 1990 or in the globalized world. While Rajiv Gandhi visited to China in 1988, the two very important understanding had been developed between India and China. One was that let's engage politically, economically, and we will have more political dialogues and economic engagement. And this, because of this engagement, you can see that India and China trade has reached around $100 billion. And in this $100 billion, India is around $48 billion trade deficit with China. So that's the second understanding was developed during Rajiv Gandhi period itself, that let's maintain the status quo on border issue, and that we will not do any kind of alteration or skirmish or any kind. We will maintain status quo on the border. And you see that in 1993 we have signed a peace and tranquility agreement on border in 1993, and again in 2005 we have signed a comprehensive border agreements between the two countries. However, the Chinese, they constantly deepening or developing their military and economic and strategic ties with Pakistan, particularly after 1990s, or particularly after 2000, while India had gone towards America. What the Chinese had been doing, they are modernizing their military programs, they're modernizing their nuclear programs, as well as they're also developing infrastructures. In that, China-Pakistan economic corridor is very significant, very important for India's security. Pakistan economic corridor, and that you will see that this corridor, this China-Pakistan economic corridor, is 4-line projects, and in this 4-line projects, if they can easily land the fighter aircrafts in this region. So, being very strategically very important region, that India's northwestern border, Kashmir, and coming China in this region, in this territory through infrastructure, really raises alarms to India and other South Asian countries, because today they are giving excuse that we want to avoid the choke points for the energy trades and other trades. But if there would be any conflict between India and Pakistan or India and China, they will use these corridors for the strategic purpose, and that's a really concerning point. And there are a number of reports that the Chinese PLA men are working in this China-Pakistan economic corridor as engineers and as to protect these. This is, and you can see that number of problems, because this region is very strategically very important. You can see Afghanistan very close to. You can reach to Central Asian countries. You can reach to Gulf Arabian Sea. You can reach Pakistan. You can come to India as well. So you can see this has deep strategic consequences for India, the way the Chinese are coming. Of course, that China are also going to other parts of South Asia, where they have developed Haban-Tota port, invested about $12 billion developing, and had given 99 years lease to China, and that creates that Chinese had come to Indian Ocean, because Chinese are dying hard. They are trying to come out through Belt and Road initiatives or the Maritime Silk Road, that they wanted to dominate the Indian Ocean. Basically, it is a saying that Admiral Alfred Mahan said that whosoever has ruled the Indian Ocean ruled the world. First, the Britishers ruled the Indian Ocean, they ruled the world. Later, the Americans ruled the Indian Ocean, they ruled the world. Now, the Chinese, they are trying to rule the Indian Ocean. And for that, they are developing infrastructures in Myanmar. In Myanmar, they are coming with China-Myanmar Economic Corridor, CMEC. The China-Myanmar Economic Corridor, again, they are connecting with Yunnan province, and they are developing a port near Sittwe. The Kongkong port is they are developing so that they can easily go to the Chinese mainland. They can avoid the Malacca dilemma. I will come with the point that what is the Malacca dilemma. They have also trying to develop deep sea port in Bangladesh, particularly the Paira and Sonadia deep sea port. They want to develop and come to South Asian countries. From there, they are going to Sri Lanka, and now you can Sri Lanka, Abantota, I have already discussed. They are also investing and developing ports in Myanmar, and the investment in Myanmar is quite larger than what the GDP size of the Myanmar as a country. So you can see that where these countries would go. So you can see it's a encirclement of India or engaging India in this South Asia in this South Asia region. There are basically why the Chinese are coming, what kind of threats they are developing to India in particularly and other South Asian countries. The Chinese basically they are engaging or encircling India with the capacity to increase presence through military and economic aid, building ports, infrastructures. They have offered number of line of credits to or soft loans to all the South Asian countries, around 22 billion to Bangladesh, around $8 billion to Nepal, $12 billion to Sri Lanka, $62 billion to Pakistan, and all these countries they are coming. They are developing friendship bridge. They are developing. They are also constantly supplying arms and maintaining their security programs. Like with Bangladesh, they have defense umbrella agreement. With Pakistan, of course, they are having very closer military eyes. Why the Chinese are coming here? There are clear-cut 2-3 objectives. One is that, of course, balancing India in South Asia, or encircling India in South Asia, or engaging India in South Asia. Number 2, balancing United States in South Asia. That is also second objective, that how to keep United States from South Asian politics. That's the other side, that the Americans, they are coming to South Asia and have developed closer ties with India. So there is a conflict of interest of Americans and the Chinese. The Chinese is pushing Americans out. The Americans are pushing Chinese out of this region, and that has become a battleground, a concern, a strategic zone for the international community. That is also a fight, that where India would go and how India should go with that in South Asia, in Indo-Pacific region, or developing Quad and all that things. The third, of course, the Chinese are also wants to have access to 1.6 billion emerging middle class market. That market is a big incentive. Investment is a big incentive, and India did not join Belt and Road initiatives, so it basically frustrated the Chinese because they wanted to. Where is the market? Market is in South Asia, and if the South Asia is not joining, India is not joining, the entire program of Belt and Road initiatives would fail for China. So they had used the pressure tactics time and again, particularly the Galwan Valley, or you can say Doklam. These are all tactics that if you will not cooperate with us in these projects, we will open the border issues with you. What the Rajiv Gandhi had tried to make status quo through 1993 agreement later on, and in 2000 agreements. So what did China has used it pressure tactics, creating Doklam and Galwan conflicts so that they can pressurize India to join Belt and Road initiatives, and the Chinese can come easily to South Asian countries. Third, because they are desperate to come to this region. Third, very important factor, that the Chinese, two vulnerable territories of China, they are bordering with South Asia. One is Tibet. If So Chinese, they want to make it good presence in Nepal as well as in India. If there would be any kind of disturbances, any kind of problem with the support of the Western power or America in Tibet, they would, if they have good access, better access in South in these countries, they can easily tackle the problem of Tibet. Same way, the Xinjiang region also is also troublesome region for Chinese, and if they have good access in Afghanistan as well in Pakistan or China-Pakistan economic corridor, they can easily control the situations and conflict in near future if it take place. So the Chinese, basically, they are coming. They are desperately coming to South Asia with all kinds of, with the deep pockets, infrastructure, trade, investment, all the initiatives they are coming. If either they are viable or they are not viable, so they are using all kind of sham dam dand bhet techniques to manage these South Asian countries. Basically, they are trying to balance India. However, India is also trying to balance China in its periphery. So there is a balance of power techniques that India is balancing China in a way that India is going to the Chinese periphery, particularly in Vietnam, Mongolia, and South Korea, Japan, all these countries that if you are coming to our territory, we will come to your territory, and we will try to cultivate the neighboring countries of China, and because they are also having conflict with China on the territorial issues with Vietnam and all that, particularly in South China Sea, where India has clearly stated that the navigational rights of the international community should be protected in South China Sea. So India is also trying to balance China in its periphery. Had been developed strategic partnership with Vietnam. Had also promised them give them to stable aircraft to Vietnam. Also cultivating other neighboring countries in the same way. Fourth very important aspects of China, basically that China has a nuclear threat from the Himalayan region. Of course, China is a nuclear power. We have developed it. While George Fernandes was the defense minister, he said clearly that our nuclear program is keeping China as a threat. So China has a constant threat to India's from the northern Himalayan region, where India has also developed a containment policy to counterbalance China in this region, and that is basically we have developed a world-class naval force. Base around 50,000 to 60,000 million dollars we are investing in Andaman Nicobar. We have also made that our missiles program will be there. This has created a Malacca dilemma before the Chinese. What is the Malacca dilemma before the Chinese? As the Chinese Prime Minister said, the Malacca dilemma, that Malacca Strait is the only way where Chinese energy trade takes place, or 85% Chinese energy take place from that route only. If you will dismantle this Malacca Strait, the Chinese cannot sustain for more than 15 to 20 days without the energy, because the 85% energy passes through this Malacca Strait, and India in Andaman Nicobar is very close to this Malacca Strait. And this is the region that the Chinese, they are trying to avoid this choke point, and developing China-Pakistan economic corridor, developing China-Myanmar economic corridor, so that you can, if there is any conflict and the Malacca dilemma was created, the Chinese constant supply of energy should not be stopped. This is the reason the Chinese are also exploring Russia very carefully, so that if there is any conflict, they can easily import energy resources from Russia. My point is there, if you are looking in the global perspective and keeping South Asian countries all together, that China had become a constant, or you can for that how to cope with the rise of China. How to cope with rise of China in these regions where they are cultivating the neighboring countries, trying to balance India. However, India is balancing China and containing China altogether. So you keep this this into mind. How much time I have, Ashwini? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, you are.
Yes, sir.
जी सर आप अभी बोल सकते हैं 10-15 मिनट मैडम अभी और
I'll conclude with few more submissions. Okay.
हाँ जी
I'll conclude with few more submissions. Now, so keeping this, what India is being doing to keeping the internal security threats and external security threats, what India had been doing, that India is trying to cultivate the neighboring countries and giving all kind of economic leverages in their growth. Either you take Bangladesh or Sri Lanka or Afghanistan, Nepal, all these countries. There would have been four policy directions. I would come four policy directions. First is that during Nehru period, there was policy of coexistence. Indira had come with the Indira Doctrine, and the Indira Doctrine was more of kind of security umbrella to South Asian countries. Indira Gandhi was concerned that you reciprocate in the security. India's security is the Sri Lanka security, India's security is Bangladesh security, and Bangladesh security is India. It has been connected. On the reciprocity basis, and this under this reciprocity relations, we had sent our forces to liberate Bangladesh in 1971. We had also sent IPKF to Sri Lanka, so that there could be peace and stability. We had also sent our forces to in 1988 to Maldives to protect and save the Abdul Qayyum's government in 1988. So time and again, we had tried to reciprocate and ensure that your security would be our security, and our security would be your security, kind of relationship that is known as India Doctrine, or you can say Indira Doctrine, not going in detail. We had made a shift in the 1990s, particularly from Gujarat time, that we will develop the relations with non-reciprocity basis. Now, what was the non-reciprocity basis relations? That we will develop the neighboring countries, we will try to resolve their grievances, address the grievances without any expectations. And this non-reciprocity relations had worked, and we have signed many of the crucial agreements with Nepal, like Mahakali Treaty. We have signed Ganges Water Treaty with Bangladesh. We have signed CST Accord, or we have also started bus services with Bangladesh and with Pakistan. Kind of things had been. So first, try to give the leverage to try to bring all these countries into the developmental board. Second, we had also come out from bilateralism to multilateralism. What was the bilateralism? अभी तक जो हम एक तरफा जो एक यूनिलेटरलिज्म था कि बायलैटरल की चलिए बांग्लादेश के साथ प्रॉब्लम है तो बांग्लादेश के साथ रिजॉल्व करेंगे, नेपाल के साथ है तो नेपाल के साथ इंडिविजुअली. नाउ वी हैव कम आउट विद द मल्टीलेटरल कि आपका प्रॉब्लम, इफ यू वांट ट्रांजिट टू नॉर्थ ईस्ट, we will ask Bangladesh to give the transit, but we will also ask Bangladesh to give transit to Bangladeshis to Nepal and Bhutan. Let the Bangladeshis also use Mongla and Chittagong port. Let the Bhutanese and Nepalis also use Bangladesh, Mongla and Chittagong port. Kind of things, multilateralism. If there are any conflicts on the river, we will take a basin-wise approach. We have signed BBIN. Number of things had been signed. I'm not going in detail. You can ask me question and answer. Third, what we have done, that we had started taking somebody's mic is somebody is unmute. Please mute yourself. Okay. So unilateralism to we have come out from unilateralism to constructive unilateralism. What is that constructive unilateralism? That earlier we used to take, that was not in Farakka and all that. Constructive unilateralism, that we will come to your country and we will help you in your development. And we had started extending line of credit to the neighboring countries. We had been instrumental in development of ports, roads, hospitals in Nepal. We had been instrumental in developing schools, hospitals, parliament in Afghanistan. We had given around $8 billion line of credit to Bangladesh. We are developing rail lines from Jaffna to Colombo. We are also developing around 50,000 houses in Jaffna province, northern province of Sri Lanka. So what we are doing, we are giving all these countries line of credit, that is very soft loan, and we are also going them to help them in their development. And for any natural calamity, we will countries to protect their, like there were earthquake in Nepal, and who were the first? The Indian army protect the people and went reached there. There were flood in Pakistan. The Indian had gone to Sindh province to help the Pakistani people. So that kind of constructive unilateralism, so that you can take them in your fold and you can take them in development, so that they will not create what the internal security threats are there and what are the external security. They will not entertain Chinese and Americans, and they will not entertain. They will not promote the insurgents and fundamental kind of things that a understanding we try to develop with these countries. Fourth, we had also come out from resource nationalism to resource sharing. Whatever the resources we had earlier, we used to that Indian resources will use for the Indians, Bangladeshi will use. Now we had come out with the resource sharing. If we have better science and technology techniques, we will have, or IT solutions, we will help Bangladeshis. If we have the corona vaccine, we will help Bhutan, Bangladesh, and Nepal or Maldives to give them the vaccine, corona vaccine. If we have also developed one kind of we have also developed SARC satellite and let the other South Asian countries take the benefit of the satellite developed by India. Kind of resource sharing, so that the confidence can be developed between the South Asian countries. Of course, we had also come out that we will not have one solutions like border only. We will not solve that. If there is a land boundary agreements, we will link land boundary agreement with other issues. Like we will resolve your issue of land boundary, but and Tista, you resolve our problem of transit and trade and electricity, whatever, security. We linked with all, so there were a package deal kinds of thing. A basket case had been made in South Asian countries that we will keep everything in one basket. You take one basket and you take one basket and you also have address our concerns like the security particular. And Bangladesh had been firm about that, though the change of guard in Sri Lanka and Nepal had become a critical factor that they could not address India's problem in recent past, creating irritations. But Bangladesh had been successfully doing, and we have become very close to that. India should have a balanced political perspective, should take all the stakeholders in the country into its fold. So that is one of the factor. I won't go in detail over that. Next is that inadequate use of soft power. That is also very important. We could not actually explore the possibilities and potentials of as a soft power to the neighboring countries. The neighboring countries, they have grievances that Indian movies or the Pakistani movies and Bangladeshi movies, and they are not entertained in India. There are problems. There are cable operators, they do not allow these things. That kind of things, the exchange of culture, exchange of heritage, exchange of people, or would help develop a South Asian community in a way. There are, of course, uncertainty about China and USA. USA had been unpredictable. They had been good relations with Pakistan earlier. Now they are coming with India. Why they are coming? The Chinese are also. They had their unpredictable China, what they did in 1962, what they will do now, what kind of they are behaving in a way that creates uncertainty in the region. Of course, that there is a need to change the mindset, diplomatic competition and personalities among the South Asian countries. If we will change the mindset, we will come out from the colonial mindsets, I think we would be in better position to develop our relations. I'm not going much into detail. I try to address many things. Now I will answer everything in Hindi. Now I'll not speak in English, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us on the topic India's security challenges in South Asia. This informative session has filled our brains with ideas. We'll take some question question here, and now the meeting is open for question answer round. We have question. The first question is from Akansha Chandra. Sir, because of Gwadar Port, lot on internal tensions in Pakistan because of the benefits not going of Baloch ethnic group, which otherwise also is quite deprived in Pakistan. Also, the spillover of these tensions to Afghanistan and Iran due to presence of Baloch over there. How do you see that? Can you also elaborate a little more on Gwadar Port?
Shall I answer or shall I take the questions first?
Yes. Sir, you can answer now.
Okay. देखिए बहुत अच्छा क्वेश्चन है और इसके लिए आपको पाकिस्तान की पॉलिटिक्स को आपको समझना पड़ेगा। पाकिस्तान की पॉलिटिक्स को समझने के लिए मींस कि वहां पे आप ये देखिए कि आजादी के बाद से जब से जिन्ना और लियाकत अली की डेथ हुई है तब से पाकिस्तान हैड गॉन अंडर द मिलिट्री ब्यूरोक्रेटिक कॉटरी एंड दैट मिलिट्री ब्यूरोक्रेटिक कॉटरी में मुख्य रूप से पंजाबी मुहाजिर डोमिनेटेड है। पंजाबी मुहाजिर डोमिनेटेड है तो क्या है कि जो पॉलिसी डिसीजंस होते हैं जो भी वहां पे डिसीजंस होते हैं वो पंजाबी मुहाजिर कोटरी के इंटरेस्ट को ध्यान में रख के होते हैं और उससे क्या हो रहा है कि पाकिस्तान इस पंजाबी मुहाजिर डोमिनेंस की वजह से बांग्लादेशी नाराज हो गए, मतलब ईस्ट पाकिस्तानी नाराज हो गए, अलग राष्ट्र बन गया। ये आप देखिए कि ट्राइबल और अर्बन डिवाइड हो गया, यानी ट्राइबल बलूच का डिवाइड हो गया कि भाई हमारे साथ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन होता है और अर्बन का डिवाइड हो गया। वहीं पर ही रूरल अर्बन डिवाइड हो गया। सिंधीज आर नॉट हैप्पी विद सिंधी उनसे खुश नहीं है पंजाबी मुहाजिर कोटरी से। तो ये जो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट है पाकिस्तान के भीतर, जो पंजाबी मुहाजिर कोटरी जो डोमिनेट करती है खासकर पंजाबी, वो एक बहुत बड़ा फैक्टर है इस तरीके की पॉलिसीज को आगे बढ़ाने में। अब आप ये देखिए कि 3 जगह पे पाकिस्तान की जो जनता की जो गवर्नमेंट है, जिसको कहें हम डेमोक्रेटिक गवर्नमेंट है, हालांकि डेमोक्रेटिक गवर्नमेंट बहुत कुछ डिसीजंस लेती रही, लेकिन 3 इश्यू पे डेमोक्रेटिक गवर्नमेंट कोई से नहीं रखती। पहला कश्मीर एंड इंडिया, दूसरा अफगानिस्तान एंड तीसरा रिलीजियस इश्यूज। इन तीनों इश्यू पे, चाहे वो हाफिज सईद का इश्यू हो, चाहे वो क्या नाम था महमूद, वो जो यूएन में टेररिस्ट का जो
अजहर महमूद का इश्यू हो, चाहे वो कश्मीर का इश्यू हो या अफगानिस्तान का इश्यू हो, मिलिट्री अलायंस का इश्यू हो, वहां पर पाकिस्तान की गवर्नमेंट नहीं, आर्मी ही सारा डिसीजन लेती है। अब सवाल आता है कि जो चाइना पाकिस्तान इकोनॉमिक कॉरिडोर है वो बहुत बड़ा इन्वेस्टमेंट है और जो पाकिस्तान का जो आर्मी है, आर्मी ने एक अपना कॉर्पोरेट इंटरेस्ट डेवलप कर लिया है। हर जगह आर्मी है, हर जगह, चाहे वो हाउसिंग सोसाइटी हो तो आर्मी मिलेगा, बिजनेस हाउस हो तो आर्मी मिलेगी, हर जगह आर्मी का कॉर्पोरेट एक इंटरेस्ट हो गया। आर्मी अपने कॉर्पोरेट इंटरेस्ट को कभी गिव अप नहीं करना चाहती, वो अपना मॉडर्नाइजेशन और अपनी इंपोर्टेंस को हमेशा बनाए रखना चाहती है। चाइना लगभग $62 बिलियन के इन्वेस्टमेंट के साथ में चाइना पाकिस्तान इकोनॉमिक कॉरिडोर के लिए आ रहा था और ये एक फैक्टर बन गया कि भाई ये जो इतना बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट है, इसमें पाकिस्तान की आर्मी, यानी नवाज शरीफ था उस वक्त, पाकिस्तान की सरकार नवाज शरीफ थी, कि नवाज शरीफ के साथ नेगोशिएशन होगा या आर्मी भी कहीं पे फैक्टर बनेगी। और वही कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हुआ कि जो नवाज शरीफ था, वो पंजाबी लीडर है, वो अब इस प्रोजेक्ट को पंजाब से जोड़ना चाहता था। आर्मी जो थी पंजाब से जोड़ने के बजाय वो कहती आर्मी इसको कि ज्यादा स्ट्रेटेजिक जोड़ो, इसका जो सारा सिक्योरिटी का इश्यूज हैं, जो सारा प्रॉब्लम है, वो आर्मी पाकिस्तान की आर्मी डील करे चाइनीज आर्मी के साथ में। और कहते हैं कि जो प्रोटेस्ट हुआ गिलगित बाल्टिस्तान और बलूचिस्तान में, ये कोई प्रोटेस्ट नहीं हुआ, ये प्रोटेस्ट आर्मी ने ही करवाया, ताकि वहां पे इनसिक्योरिटी दिखेगी इन्वेस्टमेंट को तो चाइनीज भी कहेंगे भैया इसको सिक्योर कीजिए, और वहीं पर ही पाकिस्तान भी कहेगा कि भैया कौन सिक्योर करेगा, आर्मी सिक्योर करेगा। सो व्हाट हैपेंड दैट आर्मी हैड become time and with the time and space, that army has become a actor
or had also developed corporate interest in this China-Pakistan economic corridor. Now they are deployed around one unit to protect this corridor, and this was the fundamental reason that the Nawaz Sharif was removed. Nawaz Sharif को हटाया inappropriate property के केस में. बहाना था वो inappropriate property और assets और inefficiency and corruption. वो कुछ नहीं था. एक बहुत बड़ा फायदा था, बहाना था कि जो पाकिस्तान आर्मी का जो कॉर्पोरेट इंटरेस्ट है उसको नवाज शरीफ खतरा पैदा कर रहा था, जो कि आर्मी कभी गिव अप नहीं करना चाहती, उसको सस्टेन करना चाहती है. आपको मैं एक किताब बताता हूं, अगर आप पढ़ सकते हैं. आयशा सिद्दीका इज ए पाकिस्तानी राइटर. उन्होंने मिलिट्री इकोनॉमी ऑफ पाकिस्तान पे एक बहुत अच्छी किताब लिखी है. आप उनको पढ़ सकते हैं कि कैसे पाकिस्तान की आर्मी अपने आप को हर जगह, हर प्रोजेक्ट में अपने आप को पार्टनर बनाए हुए हैं, चाहे वो मिलिट्री हो, चाहे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट हो, हाउसिंग हो, रोड हो, एनीथिंग, फूड इंडस्ट्री हो, एवरीवेयर द पाकिस्तान आर्मी people serving or retired people are holding the corporate houses in Pakistan, and that was also linked with China-Pakistan economic corridor. बहुत बड़ा, 62 billion is a huge investment. It's a huge investment for a country like Pakistan. So where the Pakistan army wanted to use इस इन्वेस्टमेंट को अपने फायदे के लिए, अपने कॉर्पोरेट इंटरेस्ट के लिए इस्तेमाल करना चाहती थी. ये तो है इंटरनल पॉलिटिक्स का. वहां बलूचिस्तान में है, ग्वादर है, तो फायदा तो होगा ही, कनेक्ट होगा, चीजें आगे बढ़ेगी. उनका अपने ग्रीवेंसेस हैं, उनके ग्रीवेंसेस कभी पाकिस्तान ने रिजोल्व नहीं किए. देयर आर अर्बन ट्राइबल डिफरेंसेस चले जा रहे हैं, इंसर्जेंट मूवमेंट्स हो रहा है, वो एक प्रॉब्लम है. लेकिन अगर इस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में देखते हैं तो अगर बलूचिस्तान जो कि जुड़ा हुआ है, उससे उस रीजन को निश्चित रूप से फायदा होगा, और उसमें उसको आगे और भी कई कंट्रीज के साथ में पैरेलल रोड्स जोड़ने की, कई प्रोविंसेस के साथ जोड़ने की कोशिश की जा रही है. ठीक है. जहां तक स्ट्रेटेजिक मामला है, निश्चित रूप से पहली बात तो कि 2-3 चीजें क्लियर रखिए कि व्हाई इंडिया डिड नॉट ज्वाइन दिस. इंडिया ने, no third country can invest without the consent of India. So this is a clear-cut violation of India's sovereignty, while the Chinese are coming to Gilgit-Baltistan and investing in this region. While we are investing in South China Sea, Vietnam Sea, Chinese has objections because the South China Sea is a disputed land, and China said that India should not invest in this disputed land. So the Chinese has two policies, different in Kashmir and different in South China Sea. India is asking that should have one policy, and this is also a clear-cut violation of the India's sovereignty. We will not endorse. This is one thing, and there are other things that of course it has a strategic dimensions as well. They are giving excuse of economic things, but it would have strategic purpose as well. Now, Americans are also concerned. They were asking Saudi Arabia to develop infrastructures on Gwadar port, hotels and all that, but I think that could not materialize very well. Yes. Any other questions?
उन्नति को
You can drop your question in chat box और
कोई नहीं. बहुत मैंने आई थिंक मैंने अश्विनी जी बहुत बता दिया. मुझे लग रहा है कि बच्चों का सारे क्वेरीज कंप्लीट हो गया.
मेरी एक थोड़ी सी
मुझे अभी 100% मार्क्स भी मिल गया. किसी ने 100% लिख दिया है.
और सर आप तो सर 500 के काबिल हैं, तो 100% तो बहुत कम दिया है. मैं 500 देता हूँ आपको. तो थोड़ा सा मेरी जिज्ञासा है सर. जैसे अभी आपने बहुत कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव वे में बताया कि किस तरीके से हमारे कहाँ का इंडिया की स्ट्रेटजीज किस तरीके से इवॉल्व हो रही है, डेवलप हो रही है, और क्या क्या हमारे पास कंस्ट्रेंट्स हैं और साउथ एशिया की क्या क्या प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, वो इनिशियली आपने बहुत कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव वे में बताया. लेकिन मेरा जो सवाल है वो यही है कि जिस तरीके से बिग ब्रदर का एक लेबल एक लेबल इंडिया के ऊपर शुरू से लगता रहा है कि इंडिया इज अ बिग ब्रदर एंड एक्टिंग लाइक अ बिग ब्रदर। दूसरा इशू है जो पाकिस्तान ने एक एजेंडा जो स्टार्टिंग से ही चलाया है, पॉलिसी ऑफ हेट्रेट का, और हमेशा से बोलता रहा है। मैं बहुत बार जब गोहर अयूब खान और बाकी लोगों की स्टेटमेंट्स वगैरह सुनता रहा हूं, और इस नवाज शरीफ में भी जिस तरीके से फॉरेन मिनिस्टर्स ने बात की, सरताज अजीज का भी आता रहा स्टेटमेंट कि कोई भी बात होती है और सीधा बोल दिया जाता है कि इंडिया शुड नॉट टेक पाकिस्तान लाइटली बिकॉज पाकिस्तान इज अ न्यूक्लियर पावर। तो ये जो जिस एटीट्यूड से बात होती है, और तीसरा चाइना जो पाकिस्तान को जिसको कहते हैं कि पूरी तरह से जो ओवरटली और कोवर्टली सपोर्ट कर रहा है, तो ये जो एक नेक्सस बना है, एक एटीट्यूड जो डेवलप हुआ है, और जैसे आपने बताया कि चाइना के ऑलरेडी के वन पॉलिसी इन साउथ एशिया एंड अदर पॉलिसी इन कश्मीर, और कोविड के बाद से जो ट्रस्ट डेफिसिट डेवलप हुआ है चाइना के अगेंस्ट, तो वो उसका जो रिफ्लेक्शन है वो स्ट्रेटेजिकली भी हो रहा है, वो जियोपॉलिटिकली भी हो रहा है, और इकोनॉमिकली भी हो रहा है। तो मेरा ये सवाल है कि कितना आपको इसमें वाइबिलिटी लगती है कि ये एक पीसफुल डायलॉग के लिए आने वाले समय में इंडिया के साथ साउथ एशिया रीजन को स्टेबलाइज करने में कुछ रोल प्ले करेंगे, या इसी तरीके से चलेगा, इंडिया को अपने आप को थोड़ा और एग्रेसिव बनाना पड़ेगा तो इनका रिप्लाई देने के लिए? ये मेरा जो है सवाल है आपसे।
नहीं नहीं, बड़ा सवाल है आपका अश्विनी जी। देखिए, पहली बात आप दिमाग में रखना
जी
कि आज अगर दुनिया में कोई साहूकार है तो वो चाइना है। साहूकार मतलब जो बनिया है, पैसा जिसके पास है।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल।
और वो इतना डीप पॉकेट्स हैं चाइना का, अपने पास इतना पैसा है कि उसको वो कैसे भी, आपको इसके कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस पता है कि भाई 99 इयर्स के अगर हर्बन टोटल पोर्ट्स को अगर आप लीज पे दे देंगे तो उसके क्या कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस हैं।
बिल्कुल।
आप मालदीव में इतना बड़ा इन्वेस्टमेंट कि उनकी जीडीपी साइज से भी बहुत बड़ा है। नेपाल में आपको पता है कि कोई भी एग्रीमेंट वाइबल नहीं है, ना तो हिमालय के ऊपर से तेल आ सकता है, ना रेल आ सकती है, लेकिन आप फिर भी चाइना को लेके आ रहे हैं क्योंकि आपको पैसा चाहिए। चाइना पैसा इन्वेस्ट कर रहा है सिर्फ अपनी प्रेजेंस बनाने के लिए। तो मोटे तौर पे जो मैं बात कहना चाह रहा हूं कि चाइना का अगर ये कोरोना से इससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ने वाला, ये सबसे बड़ा कहते हैं सबसे बड़ा रुपया, और उस रुपये से अगर इन्वेस्टमेंट ट्रेड में किसी भी देश को, अमेरिका को भी फायदा होगा, तो निश्चित रूप से अमेरिका इज ऑल्सो नॉट गोइंग टू ओपन देयर माउथ, दे हैज टू। एंड आपने देख लिया जो ट्रेड वॉर चल रहा था उस इश्यू पे देख लिया, आज के दिन कोरोना का इश्यू देख लिया, व्हाट इज एग्जैक्टली हैपनिंग, नथिंग इज गोइंग टू हैपन। जो कोई कंट्री चाइना अपने फोल्ड में लेने की कोशिश कर रहा है, अलाई करने की कोशिश कर रहा है। मैंने कहा कि चाइना के पास पैसा है, तो आपने एक अल्टरनेटिव डिस्कोर्स खड़ा कर दिया कि पहले सऊदी अरबिया लीडर था इस्लामिक वर्ल्ड का, अब आपने क्या किया कि मलेशिया, तुर्की, पाकिस्तान और ईरान को साथ में लाके एक अल्टरनेटिव डिस्कोर्स खड़ा करना शुरू कर दिया। इंडिया के साथ में आपने बाकी कंट्रीज को खड़ा करने की कोशिश, रशिया को आपने अपना एक आप स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनर बना रहे हैं। तो कहने का तात्पर्य ये है कि ये जो नेशनल इंटरेस्ट है, जो स्ट्रेटेजिक इंटरेस्ट है, जो इकोनॉमिक इंटरेस्ट है कंट्री का, दैट डोमिनेट्स द डिस्कोर्स इन रियल पॉलिटिक्स, इन रियलिटी, एंड देयर द थिंग्स वुड गो लाइक दैट। अब आपने कह दिया कि साहब चाइनीज कंपनी चाइना से भाग रही है, कितना कंपनी भाग के इंडिया में आई, और क्या जो चाइना का जो सिंगल विंडो सिस्टम और सप्लाई चेन है, क्या आप वो जनरेट कर सकते हो? नहीं कर सकते हो। कुछ कंपनियां गई वियतनाम में, बस। आपको हार्ड फैक्ट को समझना पड़ेगा, कितना बड़ा इनफॉर्मल सेक्टर है, किस तरीके का हमारा स्ट्रक्चर है, सोसाइटी का है। सो वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड, ये सब हमको बहुत अच्छे से समझना पड़ेगा। कोरोना एक डिजीज है, आई चली गई, कौन रेस्पॉन्सिबल है, कौन अकाउंटेबल है। उन्होंने WTO को उन्होंने वर्ल्ड हेल्थ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को खरीद लिया, क्या कर लेंगे आप? आज आप कह रहे हो कि हम आपको सब ग्लोबलाइजेशन अमेरिका लेके आया, यूरोपियन कंट्रीज लेके आया, फायदा उठाया चाइना ने। आज कहता है चाइना की ग्लोबलाइजेशन होना चाहिए, रहना चाहिए, अमेरिका कह रहा है कि नहीं, डी ग्लोबलाइजेशन करेंगे, हम WTO को दोबारा से देखेंगे, हम गेट के उस करेंगे। तो आप जो डिबेट है वो बेसिकली हो क्या रही है कि हो ये रही है कि जहां आपका इंटरेस्ट है, अगर आपका जहां आपका इंटरेस्ट सर होगा, यू विल गो देयर। एंड इंडिया ने, अब इंडिया का दूसरा जो सवाल है वो ये मोटा तौर पे मैं आपको बताता हूँ,
जी जी जी।
कोशिश कर रहा है कि नेबरिंग कंट्रीज को अपने फोल्ड में लेने की कोशिश कर रहा है। लेकिन हमारे यहाँ डोमेस्टिक पॉलिटिक्स जो है, डोमेस्टिक कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट्स हैं जो नेबरिंग कंट्रीज में, वो बहुत वल्नरेबल है। वो अपने पॉलिटिकल फायदे के लिए, वो इंडिया को बैलेंस करने के लिए और इकोनॉमिक इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए, वो जहां जरूरत होगा चाइना के साथ भी टिल्ट हो जाएगा। आप देखिए कि
हमें अभी रियलिटी को यही समझना पड़ेगा, यही रियलिटी है, इसको अभी हम ये समझना चाहते हैं। ठीक है, कोई और फैकल्टी मेंबर अगर सवाल पूछना चाहे तो वो पूछ सकते हैं।
वैसे 4 बज गए, अश्विनी जी।
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, thank you, sir, for solving queries. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Ashwini Jessar, sir, for vote of thanks.
Actually, this has been a wonderful event. In fact, I would say it a wonderful event and thought-provoking, and we got benefited from this presentation a lot. और जितना भी जो सर ने बताया, it was really a comprehensive presentation. The way sir started and the points he touched upon are very useful and very relevant in the present scenario. So it is a very, very thought-provoking. It was a very, very thought-provoking session, and for this session, I really thank Professor Sanjay Bhardwaj sir to spare his valuable time and enlightened all of us through this digital forum, through this digital mean. और एक चीज जो मैंने सर से जो पहले बात की थी, when I spoke with sir over the phone, सर ने मेरा पहली बार में ही मेरा रिक्वेस्ट को सर ने स्वीकार कर लिया था। बिल्कुल भी उन्होंने सेकंड थॉट नहीं लाए कि नहीं अश्विनी मैं बताऊंगा, आप मुझे मेल करो, या जैसे हो जाता है कई बार कुछ स्पीकर से यदि हम बात करते हैं देन आई लेट यू नो, वो सब नहीं था। सर ने एक ही बार में मुझे बोल दिया था कि यू डोंट वरी, जब भी आप बुलाओगे मैं आपके पास आ जाऊंगा और डिजिटल मोड से हम बातचीत कर लेंगे। तो दिस इज वेरी काइंड जेस्चर ऑफ सर, और मैं उनके लिए सर का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूं। और हम ज़रूर जैसे ही ये कोरोना का जो पीरियड ओवर होगा, हम सर को अपने कॉलेज में भी बुलाना चाहेंगे, फिजिकल प्रेजेंस सर की कराना चाहेंगे, और कुछ और अन्य विषयों पर सर से हम ज़रूर बात करना चाहेंगे। Apart from that, Dr. Sandhya Verma and Dr. Ritesh Bhardwaj जो मेरे छोटे भाई की तरह ही हैं, और बहुत सपोर्ट हमेशा से हमें करते रहे हैं, और रितेश ने भी काफ़ी सपोर्ट किया है इस इवेंट को जो है वो मूर्त रूप देने के लिए। रितेश हैज़ बीन अ पिलर for the organization for organizing this event। तो और उन्होंने फाइनेंशियल सपोर्ट भी दिया है हमें, रितेश ने, स्किल डेवलपमेंट सेल के थ्रू। तो मैं रितेश का भी बहुत आभारी हूँ। आई एम रियली ग्रेटफुल फॉर हिज फाइनेंशियल जेस्चर। संध्या मैडम ऑलवेज जब भी हमारी बात होती है, बीइंग अ टीचर इंचार्ज, क्योंकि टीचर इंचार्ज से ज़रूर हमें अनुमति लेनी पड़ती है कोई भी प्रोग्राम करने के लिए, मैडम नेवर से नो। वो हमेशा ठीक है अश्विनी जी आप कराइए, आई एम विद यू। तो मैडम ने हमारा बहुत सपोर्ट किया थ्रू आउट, और ये ऐसा सपोर्ट यदि हमें फ्यूचर में भी मिलता रहेगा तो हम और भी इवेंट्स इस तरीके से करा सकते हैं। हमारे जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं, स्पेशली शौर्य, राज, उन्नति, राज को हमने एक नया टाइटल भी दे दिया टेक्निकल गुरु का हमारे, और पूरे इवेंट को ऑर्गेनाइज करते हैं। उसके अलावा शौर्य, उन्नति, मोहम्मद शाद, प्रवीण और बहुत सारे और हमारे जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं, दे आर वेरी इंस्ट्रूमेंटल टू मेक दिस प्रोग्राम अ सक्सेस। मैं उन सभी स्टूडेंट्स का भी धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगा। हमारे और जो फैकल्टी मेंबर्स हैं, प्रशांत जी हैं और रामविलास हैं, मनोज हैं, संजीव, जो भी लोग बाकी हमारे डिपार्टमेंट के सदस्य हैं, मैं उनका भी धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगा। एंड आवर प्रिंसिपल सर डॉक्टर रमेश मिश्रा जी, always a source of inspiration, and he always motivates us, और कभी भी उनकी कोई हेल्प चाहिए होती है तो वो ज़रूर करते हैं हमारी। और इस प्रोग्राम के लिए भी उन्होंने समय निकाला, बिकॉज ही हैज़ बीन very busy these days due to certain reasons, but still he spared some time and shared his views on this platform. So I am really thankful to him. इसके अलावा और जो भी लोग हमारे साथ, जो हमारे स्टूडेंट्स जुड़े, जो संजय सर के भी स्टूडेंट्स जुड़े, और भी जितने भी, और दोज people joined us outside India, especially from Afghanistan, Europe, Korea, and wherever they are located and they are situated, they have joined us. I am very thankful to them. In future programs, I would seek their presence as well. और जो हमारे दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी से हमारे साथ और बच्चे जुड़े, मैं उन लोगों का भी धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगा। फीडबैक फॉर्म आप सभी लोगों को हमारे स्टूडेंट्स भेजेंगे, आप उनको भरिए और आपको ई सर्टिफिकेट सबको प्रोवाइड किया जाएगा। तो मैं इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ संजय सर का एक बार अपने डिपार्टमेंट के बिहाफ पे और अपने कॉलेज के बिहाफ पे एक बार फिर से धन्यवाद उनको देता हूँ। और आप सभी लोगों का धन्यवाद, आप सभी लोग जुड़े और इस इवेंट को आपने एक मेमोरेबल इवेंट बनाया, आपने इस इवेंट को एक सक्सेसफुल इवेंट बनाया। फॉर दैट आई एम रियली थैंकफुल टू ऑल ऑफ यू। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
थैंक यू ऑल। अश्विनी जी, संध्या जी, मैडम, थैंक यू वेरी मच। प्रिंसिपल साहब को भी धन्यवाद। ठीक है, आई विल टेक लीव नाउ।
ओके सर, थैंक यू। फिर आपसे मैं बात करूंगा।
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू।
Okay, so with this, we have come to the end of our webinar. There is a feedback form in the chat box. Since a good feedback is the key to improvement, I would request everyone to give us your feedback. Only those feedbacks are received gets an e-certificate. So it is mandatory for everyone to fill the feedback form. Now, I would like to thank everyone who made this webinar possible, starting from our teachers. Special mention to Sandhya ma'am, Ashwani sir, and Nitesh sir, and to all the members of Prerna Society. Without their coordination, the session would not have been possible. Last but not the least, thank you to all the listeners. We appreciate you being here. Thanks again for joining us today. We'll see you next time with our second webinar on this series on international relations. Till then, adieu. Goodbye. Thank you.
Thanks to all.